BusinessKids is a skill development program, and it's not just entrepreneurial skills. These are life skills. These are skills that we are not getting our children to develop in the traditional school systems or even in college or university. Most of us as professionals have learned to be entrepreneurs, becoming entrepreneurs. The only way to become an entrepreneur is going through the process ourselves. So where do kids start, or how do we get kids? This is the natural form, or the authentic form, how we get kids, or kids grow. Kids feed on dreams. They have amazing dreams. You just need to sit down with a 4-year-old and ask him or her what their dreams are, and they have an amazing world inside their heads. They have a huge imagination. They think everything's possible, and they do believe that everything's possible. Their mind is free. They are full of hope and illusions. They believe that they can achieve whatever they can imagine. They have no paradigms. Paradigms are structures from the adult world and the adult mindsets. They do not belong with children. The society and the academical world have taught children about paradigms, and we as grown-ups are the ones responsible for shutting down their creative and curiosity from kids. They are open. They're just open to everything and to all possibilities. We believe that children are naturally creative, curious, and entrepreneurial. They're always solving problems. They're always figuring out some way to solve a necessity or to get themselves to get what they want. They know very well how to negotiate. We use the term manipulate, but they don't manipulate. They negotiate to get what they want. We just need to use a word shift to get them to where they want to be. Why do we stop dreaming as grown-ups? Because of fears that we get from the grown-up world, from the grown-up world of ideas, life's ups and downs, because naturally life is not a straight line upward, it has ups and downs. And they teach us what works and what doesn't work. Loneliness, children nowadays live in a lonely world because grown-ups have a need or a belief they need to go out to work or to have more and be outside, and children are more time left alone. Paradigms, which I just told you that they belong in the grown-up world, they don't belong in children's minds. The no's, we usually tell children to stop doing things or to not even try to do something because it won't work out. That's what grown-ups think. We have to let children try, to let them know what they're capable of. And norms that are subscribed from institutions or from society or from the academical world in which we have put them in. The foundations of personality are in the first years of life. This is what Freud has sustained for a long time, and there's a very strong line of psychology developed from this. And we know children are like a new gadget. You get your iPhone and it has some programs preloaded, but these programs don't work unless we start getting information into them. I mean, you have a contacts application in your new iPhone, but you can't contact anyone if you don't start downloading names and telephones and addresses into them. The brain is the same. It has some programs that are preloaded, but we need to put information into them to make them work and run. Childhood is the most important stage in brain development. As they grow, children change their instincts and impulses for the norms and rules established by society and institutions. And this sticks through life. It doesn't mean it cannot change, but BusinessKids, it's the channel that allows us to make that change in the mind of the children, the teenagers, looking through adult development. Why? Because we challenge them to keep being curious and keep being creative. A child who learns that he can achieve what he sets out to do in life will undoubtedly become a successful adult or grown-up. through our pillars, I'm going to go through them a little bit further on in the presentation. One of them is empowering children to believe, to get to know themselves and to believe strongly in themselves and their purpose and their goals and their dreams. If a child, through our program, can believe or have stronger beliefs in themselves, they will grow up believing and knowing they can achieve whatever they set up to achieve in life. I'm going to share a little bit about the learning process because it's very important for you to understand and embrace that BusinessKids is an integrative teaching process. Everyone has a different learning strength. It can be through listening, through seeing, or through doing the VAC learning process as we know it. But either one involves the senses. The senses are the system that provides human beings with the information from the outside that we need to process, to incorporate into our thinking brain and get knowledge to be installed. So the first thing that we get are sensations, experiences. They are all collected through the senses, through all the central nervous system, as if this was our brain and this was our central system. We get information through our senses. And it gets in through the thalamus, which processes information and transforms it into emotions and sensations that are registered in the amygdala. The amygdala is the emotional processing center of the brain, and it's located in what we call the reptile brain because it's the most primitive brain. And its basic function is to make the species survive. So emotions are transferred to get the brain to give instructions to the rest of the body to survive. The flight, freeze, or fight reaction that we've all heard of, and it's a reaction. It's not something that we process or think through. It just happens. And it happens through the information we get through the senses. This is then transferred to a neocortex or the new cortex or the more developed brain, which is the top of the brain. This is the rational brain. This is what makes humans different from other animal species. And this is when we process information, and this is when we are able to produce a response based on the information we are receiving to create an answer. This is not impulsive. This is not reactive. This is a process, a thinking process. And then dopamine activates the hippocampus, where the memory gets stored and helps us use all this information and transform it into knowledge. Information transforms into knowledge through experience. We can read a lot of books, but if we don't use the information in the books to do something, we won't get that knowledge and it won't be transferred into a skill. This is what we do in BusinessKids. We don't give kids books, we give kids experiences so that they can have all these sensations transferred into emotions and the emotions transferred into the contents of the business world. This is how they learn all the concepts that we use with them to help them develop their own businesses through experience, through living all this process and all the dynamics and the activities that we have designed in all the manuals. How does BusinessKids support kids then? Well, we don't have a magic ball to know what the future holds for all children, but we do know that change is constant, number one. And number two, we should have acknowledged by now that we live in a VUCA world when uncertainty is what we have most certain of, because we never know when things will change. And the pandemic, if it didn't teach us that, hopefully we don't have to go through another one to get the lesson learned. We do have the tools in BusinessKids to make these children able to face successfully whatever that future holds for them, because we help them build the mindset that will embrace uncertainty and make the most out of it, because we bring them through this process to get them to work what's in front of them and make the most out of them. Resilience is one of the abilities that we develop in children to adapt. I was in a summit last Monday, and we were speaking about the future of work, and they made it clear that companies worldwide are no longer hiring people for their technical competencies. Companies around the world are hiring people with their ability to develop skills, especially adaptability. So it's a soft skill world now, and not necessarily a technical skill, because we know by now that technical skills can be learned, but bland skills, soft skills, are harder to develop if we have not been exposed to them from childhood. We potentiate the skills they will need for that future. We don't know how the future will be, but we do know that we are working now with a generation that was born to be digital. We have to adapt to their world and not expect them to go back to ours. So we have to grow with them. We have to adapt with them, and we have to become resilient with them. So this is just a little bit about the two hemispheres of the brain. We have a left brain and a right brain. Children are born with a more developed right brain. They're more creative, they're more sensitive. This is the way they connect to people. This is the way they learn to read faces and read emotions, by watching grown-ups. The left brain gets developed through experience and through being exposed to the school systems, because they give us a structure which to follow. They give us some rules to belong into the different institutions. We have social, political, and religious institutions that give children the guidelines to follow through. And this helps develop the left brain. What we want BusinessKids is to create interconnectedness between both hemispheres. So we want kids to keep using all the components in the right brain, not to lose them or put them away, and put them to the service of those skills that will be developed through the using of the left hemisphere. So we want both hemispheres to be interconnected and to communicate in each other, and use the whole potential of the whole brain to get these kids to be exposed to different experiences and being able to produce answers or opportunities using their whole brains. So we also have a downstairs and an upstairs brain, the reptile brain and the more developed, the rational brain. The downstairs brain is the reactive brain, is where emotions tell us to do something to survive. This is an automated response. It's not something that we think about. And I like to use the example, if a little mouse in a pear listens to a rattlesnake around her, does she stay and figure out what that noise is all about, or does she react to survive? That's the flight or fight response or freeze. And for a mouse, it's probably safer to flight than to fight with a rattlesnake, right? And that's just an intuitive response on survival in nature. With humans, what's happened, it's that there's no physical risk outside, but there's a psychic risk perceived through the same kinds of experience, because the downstairs brain has not evolved as the upstairs brain has evolved in human beings. So we want children to know that we get a first response, but we need to connect the downstairs brain with the upstairs brain to produce a response, to have a thinking process involved in it to get a response. And that's what we do through our activities and the dynamics that you get in your manuals, because we get children to think while they play. So they are not consciously knowing, they are developing skills to strengthen their brain, but this is what we do for them. This is what the methodology does for children and for teenagers, and therefore for grown-ups, because now we know that the brain never stops evolving. We know that the brain, even in grown-ups, will keep evolving until the day we die, if we give it the correct stimuli and we let it have different and new experiences to develop neuroplasticity. If you have any questions, just let me know or raise your hands. So BusinessKids works with brain integration, which I just explained, trying to use both hemispheres and both levels of the brain. Mistakes are opportunities. We teach children, and this is the summer camp campaign, that they need to see where their opportunities are. Failure is not an ending step. It's just a way of learning what doesn't work and being able to develop new ways of making it work. Intention is being clear on what you want to achieve, and presence is because we work with what we have right now to create a different future. We have a vision, we have a way of seeing forward what we want to develop with the children, and the children have a very clear intention on where they want to get as they grow older. BusinessKids also works very strongly with executive skills. This is a set of skills that help children do what needs to be done. The term comes from neurosciences literature and refers to brain-based skills that are required for humans to execute or perform tasks. It's what children need to make their hopes and dreams come true, achieve their goals, and reach their potential. By late adolescence, they should be able to function with a reasonable degree of independence. I'm going to go through the 11 skills proposed as the executive skills. And I want you to think as where you are as grown-ups, if there are any of these skills that you still need to develop, because we not necessarily are all at the top of our skill development. We all have challenges and we all have opportunities to keep growing. These skills are installed in the prefrontal cortex, and the prefrontal cortex does not stop integrating in women around 21 to 25 years old, and in men up until 27. We all thought that when we were teenagers and finishing our 18 and 19th year, we were full grown-ups and our brain was fully developed. Now we know it wasn't. Executive functions keep installing in our brain from birth through childhood, through adolescence, and even through our younger years of adulthood until we are around 25 or 27 years old. So we all have opportunities to keep developing these skills, even as grown-ups, to trying to achieve our peak performance. So these are the 11 executive skills. I'm going to go through one by one with the textbook definition. So response inhibition. It's the capacity to think before you act. This ability to resist the urge to say or do something allows your child the time to evaluate a situation and how his or her behavior might impact it. Working memory. The ability to hold information in memory while performing complex tasks. It incorporates the ability to draw on past learning or experience to apply to the situation at hand or to project into the future. Emotional control. The ability to manage emotions to achieve goals, complete tasks, or control and direct behavior. Sustained attention. The capacity to keep paying attention to a situation or task in spite of distractibility, fatigue, or boredom. Task initiation. The ability to begin projects without undue procrastination in an efficient or timely fashion. Planning and prioritizing. The ability to create a roadmap to reach a goal or to complete a task. It also involves being able to make decisions about what's important to focus on and what's not important. The ability to create and maintain, organization. The ability to create and maintain systems to keep track of information or materials. Time management. The capacity to estimate how much time one has, how to allocate it, and how to stay within time limits and deadlines. It also involves a sense that time is important. Goal-directed persistence. The capacity to have a goal, follow through to the completion of the goal, and not be put off or distracted by competing interests. Flexibility. The ability to revise plans in the face of obstacles, setbacks, new information, or mistakes. It relates to an adaptability to changing conditions. And metacognition, the ability to stand back and take a bird's eye view of yourself in a situation. Observe how you problem solve. It also includes self-monitoring and self-evaluative skills. Asking yourself, how am I doing, or how did I do it? So these, sorry. Something's happened. Are you still listening to me? Yes. Okay. So these executive skills are developed through childhood and adolescence, and even through adulthood. Through our programs, we take hand of all these skills and bring them to the children without telling them that we are developing executive skills, but they learn how to use them and become efficient in the use of each one of them. And they become skills because we use them regularly along the programs and the dynamics that we all use through the development of entrepreneurial skills. And if we go through the 4 pillars of BusinessKids, which are business, financial, educational, personal empowerment, and social conscience, we integrate all this information that I just gave you into the brain to make children use their whole brains when they process information with a purpose. We want them to know what they want to do, how they want to reach it, to have a plan, to have a program, and to have the skills required to perform and deliver what's expected with what they have proposed as a business opportunity. The stronger part of the psychology behind BusinessKids is the personal empowerment pillar, because we get children to know themselves and to believe in themselves and their ideas, to go through with them, even though maybe the first time they try, it won't come out as they had expected. But this is when we get in and we ask them, how else can we go through with this? And this is the metacognition part of the executive skills. What did you learn and how can you use it in the future or within this same project that you're following through to make sure that you get to the objective that you have planted for yourself? So the pillars are sustained and backed up by the psychology because we're using child development techniques to help children and adolescents and grown-ups in our grown-up programs to fortify their skills. Doesn't mean that we are all going to have the same skill set at the same level. But we can guarantee parents that we will be strengthening the skills their children have to help them design and develop through a different and more purposeful future for their kids. So how do we do this? So we take the 3 basic big parts of the brain, and we have the prefrontal cortex, which is where we have all the executive skills, and we have the amygdala, where we take all the emotions and the emotional process, and we have the hippocampus, where we store all the cognitive information in the brain. And we integrate the brain into one so that the child can access all the resources that we have as human beings, independent of our age, and we can access this information and use purposefully to achieve our goals, to achieve our dreams, and to reach out to that which we are seeing. And this is the part that I most love about BusinessKids, because the impact it has on society and families is huge, because children come home and start asking questions from different places. And we need to be prepared, and that's why Parents in Motion exists. With it, it's the parent school for entrepreneurial parents of entrepreneurial kids, because we help parents understand how we are molding the child's brain into a whole brain, helping them develop all the skills and the abilities they need for a different future, a future we don't know how it will be. We have an idea, but we help them develop all the tools in the brain so they can be stronger, more resilient, and more integrated humans as they grow, because these skills stick with children as they grow and as they shift from childhood to adolescence, and as they shift again from adolescence into young adulthood. So I have a quote here by Peter Drucker: the best way to predict the future is to create it. And this is what we're doing in Business Kids. We are creating a future for our children, for our teenagers, and for our societies. I'm leaving you here my contact information if you want to reach out, or you can reach out through the help desk. This was a brief presentation on what's behind Business Kids. And before I end this, I want to share with you some information I was looking up on why parents choose to invest in Business Kids for their children. One of the reasons is early learning and development. Business Kids offers a variety of programs that teach children valuable business skills such as financial literacy, critical thinking, problem solving. Parents see the value in developing their children's skills early on to prepare them for their future. Entrepreneurial mindset. Many parents want their children to develop an entrepreneurial mindset, which is promoted by Business Kids' philosophy of teaching children to think and act like entrepreneurs. This mindset helps children become more resilient, creative, and confident. It's an affordable investment. Compared to other extracurricular activities, the cost of Business Kids programs is often seen as an affordable investment for parents. They view it as a cost-effective way to expose their children to important life skills that can benefit in their future careers and overall personal growth. Fun and engaging programs. Business Kids offers fun and engaging programs that make learning enjoyable for children. This enhances their learning experience and helps them to retain the knowledge they gain better. And differentiated instruction. Business Kids provides differentiated instruction, allowing children of all abilities to learn and grow at their own pace. This approach allows children to develop self-confidence and a positive attitude towards life and businesses. Business Kids, it's a great complement for the academic system because as we all know, it's a dynamic program and children learn, they come to Business Kids to play. They don't know they are coming here to learn about business. So this is like a relaxed time for kids. When kids first come to Business Kids, they don't want to leave after the first session because they enjoy their time here. And as they enjoy it, they are learning, and they are learning with other kids while playing. And so it takes off the load of the academic homework and the extracurricular activities that are focused on academic achievement. When kids come to Business Kids, they find a reason to use things like math, for example. They understand that if they are proficient at math, they will be proficient with their finances, and they will be proficient when they establish a cost strategy for the products, a pricing strategy for the products. My experience with one of my girls are twins, and they joined Business Kids when they were 7. They were starting the reading process in school. And one of them, Maria Sara, was always questioning us, why did she have to learn to read? And she was refusing to learn to read. And she always said, I will not need this in the future. She was 7. And it was a struggle with her dad because he would sit with her, beside her, and you will not get up from here until you read this sentence proficiently and fluently. And it was a daily struggle with her. When she was preparing her first sales presentation in Business Kids, working with one of my counselors, she turned around looking for me. And when she found me, what she confessed was, now I understand why I need to read. And it was through the Business Kids process that she understood the use of reading. And kids do this all the time. They understand the use of geography when we go through global commerce with them and the dynamics. They understand the importance of math when they have to exchange currencies. For example, if they're buying from another country or selling to another country in different currencies, they need to know the exchange rates and the importance of using the decimal system, for example. So they do not get confused. They come to BusinessKids to enjoy the time and to understand why school is so important.